r/AskReddit. What is extremely common but people think it's extremely rare? Don't like our weather? Just wait a few minutes, insert hometown here, where we experience all 4 seasons in a single day week. Also, man, my city-state has the worst drivers ever. Learning something in your 30s that you should have definitely learned much earlier. A doctor using Google to help figure out what's wrong with a patient. Further, surgeons using Google mid-surgery or phoning a friend for help mid-surgery. Edit source. Friends with many medical residents of varying specialties. Yup, my sister says that what they learn in med school is how to interpret those search results. A layperson might think that they have cancer because they have 6/9 of the main symptoms. The doctor will be able to tell that the 3 symptoms you're missing are those that are most important to diagnose the illness. So you don't have cancer. Doctors did the same thing before Google. It just took longer because they had to consult reference books instead. Miscarriages. I've answered an identical thread before. While we're on childbirth, and to give a more wholesome spin, premature babies surviving. Used to be a 36-week baby would have a limited chance for survival. And in modern times, I've seen 26-week babies survive and go on to be perfectly healthy. Absorbing your twin in the womb. It's like surprisingly common. I now have the strength of a fully grown man and a developing baby. I absorbed my twin and TBH we still made a weak person. Being creative, and introverted, and special. More people have told me they are introverted than people have told me they are extroverted. Maybe it's just hip these days. It's not uncommon for people to have 3 kidneys, but until you get a scan for something, you won't know. I was scanned for kidney stones and the doctor just mentioned in an offhanded way I had 3. When I questioned him, he said it was not unusual but most folks never find out. A girl I knew growing up suffered an injury from training for a sport. After a few tests to make sure they were not incorrect, they determined that she had 4 kidneys. She said she always had stomach pain but thought it was from training. As far as I know she donated the extras and was significantly happier afterwards. I was born with and still have 4 kidneys. Gave me issues as a little kid but not so much now. Drug users. They're everywhere. I thought it was rare until I met a new group of friends who were more regular drug users and it really opened my eyes to how accessible and widespread it is. It's scary how easy it is to find drugs anywhere. Colorblindness. Edit. Almost no colorblind people see in black and white. The most common variant of colorblindness anomaly, red and green, affects every 1 in 10 people. We can still see colors but in our own special way that is different to normal people. Amicable divorces. You're not just going to pull into the drive one day to find all your shit on the front lawn. My parents got divorced 20 years ago but continued to live together because they had 3 young children under 10. They started dating each other again like 3 years ago though. It's kind of weird seeing my parents be affectionate with one another. Roman coins. $5 on eBay. I want one. How do I know it's real? If it says 50 BC on it, best to leave it alone. Mental illness. In Ireland it's pretty well advertised that 1 in 5 people will experience mental health issues in their lifetime and to seek help for these issues. Fatal car accidents. People are terrified of things that are several orders of magnitude smaller than fatal car accidents to happen, but they drive every day without worrying about it. I literally work near the crater the terrorists left in NYC, but do terror attacks keep me up at night? No, I'm still thousands of times more likely to get mangled in a 5-car pileup. Driving is by far the most dangerous activity most of us engage in, and most of us do it every day. Talent. As an artist, growing up adults and authority figures throughout my life propped up my natural drawing abilities as extremely rare and something that was fundamentally special. I never felt it really was because I always knew so many awesome artists who I considered way better than me, and now of course when we look at all the beautiful creative stuff people make and host online across the world it's clear just how common my specific talents are. This goes for anything. How many buskers have gone viral because they have such beautiful voices and are singing in a subway station or on a street corner? Often they sound better than the ones who make it in the music industry. The gatekeepers of a lot of industries have tricked us into thinking that talent is rare and precious so they can market it. I believe it's precious yet incredibly common. Based on dating apps, girls being foodies and loving travel. And loving dogs more than people. Describing yourself as crazy and fun. Anyone who describes themselves as weird or spontaneous or crazy is probably the most boring person ever. Thinking you're a genius. Sorry haters and losers, but my IQ is one of the highest. Knowing more than one language. I grew up where knowing 2 languages was the norm and many people knew 3 or 4. In my linguistics class I learned that about 70% of the world is raised speaking more than one language. Monolingualism is actually fairly unusual. A fluke. It's really the most common fish in the ocean. If you go fishing for a fluke, chances are you'll find one. Feeling like the world is against you and thinking you aren't good enough. It's funny how both thinking you aren't good enough and thinking you're a genius are on this thread. Poverty. Those who aren't in poverty generally can't recognize when someone is poor. Edit. Words. I live near an extremely poor area surrounded by extremely rich areas. The amount of people in the rich areas who just don't understand poor people is insane. They live like 10 minutes up a major road from them and rarely interact with them. Some of the religious groups go to work in the poor areas, but they are the exception. Blue eyes white dragon. But there are only 3 in the world. People talking about their kid like oh he's already doing this. Or they already know how to insert verb. More than likely your kid's learning at a very average speed. So many parents seem to think their kid is so ahead of their age. I used to think that crap of my nephews growing up. My sister is so much older than me that my first nephews are more like younger siblings. But then they grew up to be normal dumbasses. Certain kids hit developmental milestones faster than others, but the stragglers can catch up and surpass them later. It really means nothing. 4-leaf clover. Find any random patch of clover and look for a few minutes. You'll find a few for sure. I used to find them by the dozens in 7th grade outside my school. Now I don't find many at all even when I look. I now think it was something about the clover patches on that hill. Nice people. That's probably the first time I've read this on the internet. Most people that I've met and known have been nice, good people. But whenever I go to the internet everyone are suddenly a-holes. Edit. To clarify, I do realize that many people that you meet are just being polite because it's the norm. But I'm also under the impression that most people want to do good in this world instead of bad. Maybe this differs from where you're from, where you live, which culture you belong to, etc etc. But even then I still think that most people aren't out to hurt you. Millionaires. People who have a net worth of $1 million. It's more or less middle class in this area of the US. Death issues in pregnancy. Stuff that will kill the mother is way more common than people think. Miscarriage is extremely common in the first trimester. So much so that often women didn't even know they were pregnant. Just thought they were late. Double yolks. You need to stop posting M. 100%. My mother found 7 yolks in an egg before. Finding 3 or 4 is quite common. Edit. 3 or 4 because 3-4 was misunderstood by a few. Scoliosis. I told someone that I have scoliosis and then told him that it was actually really common. He didn't believe me until his friend, who also has scoliosis, and I told him how common it was. Sinkholes. They're common where the rock below the land surface is limestone, carbonate rock, salt beds, or rocks that can naturally be dissolved by groundwater circulating through them. How often someone wants to duck you or how close you come to dying every day without realizing it. If you only knew the answers to either, you'd probably go insane. Going into labor without your water breaking is a sign of the start. It's absent in like 85% of the cases. In TV shows they always make it seem like the way to know when the baby is coming. Don't put all your money on that rare symptom. Hospital infections. Underreported. My best buddy went to the hospital for minor surgery and wound up with something called C. diff. Killed him. But the death certificate says heart failure. Harry Potter first editions. Most first edition Harry Potters aren't valuable at all. You need very specific printings of the first editions for any real collectible value. The most valuable are the very first copies of the Sorcerer's Stone and the Philosopher's Stone UK. The rest pretty much aren't worth anything. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.